Hi guys, Upwork just had a virtual talent showcase in which I was one of the panelists. I'm Mike Volkin, by the way, with Freelancer Masterclass, if I didn't introduce myself. So we're going to go ahead and show a recording of that, which has some good conversations about the future of marketing and some other things, and how to market yourself moving forward as a freelancer, consultant, small business, etc., even large business. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Cover, Kover.ai. It's because of great companies like Cover, innovative companies that are sponsoring my channel. So they allow me to make some great video, come up with some great content for you guys. So if you haven't heard of Cover and you're interested in portable benefits for gig workers like paid time off, sick leave, 24/7 health service, legal protection, automatic mileage tracking if you're doing some driving, all those benefits and more can be found at Cover. Really low cost plans, really innovative company. And you know me, guys, if you follow me, I'm not gonna promote some kind of fly-by-night company. This company is here to stay. They're a startup in San Francisco, and they have some really, really innovative programs, especially for freelancers and consultants and gig workers. All right, so go ahead and check them out, and let's go ahead and check out the August Virtual Talent Showcase with Upwork.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so excited to get started today. My name is Nancy Van Brunt. I lead our talent success team at Upwork, and I'm really excited to be leading this discussion today on enabling growth at scale with independent marketing talent. Now, with the global pandemic forcing seismic changes across industries and across functions, marketing in particular has never been more critical to an organization's growth. And this current crisis has forced marketers to quickly pivot to a constantly changing environment, create new strategies, and navigate through this new normal, while also identifying opportunities for growth amidst the changes. So I'm joined today by three top independent marketing professionals, and they're going to share how they're navigating this and helping companies to adapt, respond, and grow their businesses this year amidst constant change. So welcome today, Mike Volkin, Ross Jenkins, and Brenda Doe, and thank you so much all for joining us. And to kick things off, I'd love to have each of you introduce yourselves and your business. Ross, let's start with you.
Sure. So as Nancy presented, I'm Ross. I'm from England and now live in Spain. I've been working on businesses since I was 14. I used to buy businesses when I was younger. I'd save up my paper round, anything that I could do to build a business. I would automate the business. I'd put marketing into the business, or as much sense as a 14-year-old could put into a business. And then I would sell it onwards. As time goes on, obviously, people with more experience, more money took over. And that was kind of how the business went. I ended up going into door-to-door sales when I turned 18. And I understood a massive amount of sales knowledge in terms of knocking on 100 doors, understanding only two people are going to open the door, maybe one person maybe buys from you. In the pouring rain in England, that's not really very fun. Throughout that, I worked for marketing agencies up until I was 26. I'm now 28, unfortunately. But what I understood was a massive amount of flaws of what agencies aren't doing, which is communicating and being transparent with their customers. I knew I wanted to be better. I wanted to be number one in my industry. I knew exactly what my goals were, but I also knew if I marketed myself, I could become number one. So one of the ways I'd done was to buy as many Upwork connections as possible and to apply for as many jobs. So the more people that saw my applicant, the more people who are going to see my profile, and the higher chance that I'm going to get of people ultimately buying my services. I've been working on Upwork for 2.5 years now. Myself and my agency have just totaled about 400,000 over turnover in total. And we're looking to carry that on this year.
That's great. Thank you. Mike, let's hear from you, please.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm Mike Volkin. I've been consulting for 18 years now, built and sold a few companies of my own. I've written 5 books. I've worked with over 400 clients in over 20 countries in 36 different industries. So I'm a fractional CMO, which allows me to work with small businesses who don't have or can't afford a full-time marketing leader. I like long walks on the beach, baby turtles, and cheesecake.
Great. Thank you. Brenda, please take it away and complete this all-star panel.
My name is Brenda Doe, and I'm founder of BL Copywriting. So I started off my career in sales, corporate sales, and I got tired of being on road probably 300 days out of the year. So I decided to turn that over to become a direct response copywriter because I still love the whole sales process. This way, though, I get to do it from home and working with any client that I care to, in any industry. So I've been doing that for about 15 years now and helping B2B and B2C clients just improve their sales.
That's great. Thank you. Well, it's really great to have you all. Clearly a lot of expertise to share. So we don't have a lot of time. Let's jump right into the questions. And for those joining, we will have time at the end for audience questions. So please save those and then share them in the chat. So I would like to start with Mike. And if you can tell us how you see the marketing function and how it has been forced to evolve in light of the changing workforce and these new consumer dynamics.
Yeah, good question. Well, marketing budgets for retail stores have shrunk. That's no surprise as a result of, companies are tightening their belt because of the pandemic. Online stores are crushing it, though. I mean, traffic is up considerably, at least for my clients. And as a result, we've had to deal with scaling issues, logistic issues sooner than anticipated. E-commerce marketers are now working closer with customer service teams because of shipping issues and logistics issues. And I also see marketing budgets reallocating more towards pay-per-click to capture more search traffic. So long-term marketing plays like SEO and branding are getting less budget allocation, and it's shifting more towards PPC, pay-per-click.
Got it. Okay. Ross, what are your thoughts on how the function has evolved?
Sure. So companies have obviously had to change their tactics, but it's also a great position to be in for a lot of companies. A lot of competitors are going out of business. People still need you and your services. And as Mike mentioned, offline marketing or brand marketing or long-term marketing isn't great right now because people are wanting quick returns. So instead of cutting your marketing spend, invest heavier now than ever because your competitors' clients are out there, waiting for someone to pitch them. We've never seen a pandemic before, and I'm hoping we don't see one again in the future. Realistically, digital is the way for companies to go right now. If they can invest in PPC, landing pages, and email marketing, that's one of the best ways that they can sort of advance their business.
Gotcha. Brenda, have you seen something similar, and particularly in copywriting? How have you seen that change?
I see things from the content perspective, so it's a pretty narrow little niche. But basically what I've noticed is people are asking to turn more product around with shorter deadlines and usually with smaller teams. And they're trying to figure out how to do it all virtually. We're all fortunate because we're used to working virtually, but our clients aren't. So helping everyone get through the humps and then figure out, okay, what can we do now that we don't have studios per se or anything like that we can go to, just like this webinar itself. So that's what I'm seeing. A lot more product turn or a lot more deliverables in a shorter time.
Okay, yeah. Higher expectations and shorter deadlines. It sounds consistent. Ross, so you touched on the change, sort of the digital transformation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the changes in the business economy and how they've hurt a lot of businesses, and what advice you would give to traditional businesses that don't have an online footprint.
Sure. So traditional businesses in the next 10, 20 years are going to start to struggle, especially ones without social media, without using ads, even retargeting ads, and without having a website. Especially retail sector, as you've seen over the past sort of 6 months, big UK retail companies like Debenhams, Next, they're all going bust. And these guys are the biggest in the UK, and they just can't handle the demand realistically because they don't have an online presence. Within 6 months, they've gone from being one of the biggest retailers to, ultimately being sold in the next couple of months. Start off getting social media, get a website, and start building your digital footprint, and ensure that you're doing a lot more than your competitors.
Yeah, makes sense. Mike, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the role of the fractional CMO and how that role is changing and what role that plays in helping companies pivot and grow through times of crisis. How are you supporting clients during this time?
Yeah, well, some companies are scrambling to pivot and some are trying to keep up with the demand. So right now I'm helping companies in two ways. First, they never had marketing leadership before and now they feel they need to because they're dealing with big issues like large volume purchases on their websites. And the other way I'm helping them is they need help scaling to keep up with demand. They need processes in place, agencies and freelancers hired, project management of many marketing tasks. So I come up I come into the company with a marketing strategy, management skill sets, and I systematize and optimize the marketing operations for them.
Got it. And Brenda, in the world of content, how have content needs changed, and how are content marketers responding to the crisis and helping those brands adjust to this new world?
In my experience, it's been a matter of companies needing to be more responsive and also authentic in how they're responding. Part of it, it's the tone, what they say, so they don't sound tone deaf to what's going on around them. But a lot of it is also timeliness. So the pandemic, the anti-racism protests, the recession has created so much instability, and people need to feel more reassurance, especially from the companies that they work with. And so in terms of content, what I've noticed is companies have to do more, like increase their, maybe their email sequences, get out of the usual schedules and be more responsive to what's happening. So it's more real time. That could be updating their FAQ pages, or it could also be creating more online resources. Do whatever it takes to help the customer get the information that they need timely so that you can just help them make their life easier.
Yeah, it seems like content also is probably playing a bigger role maybe than it has in the past. Have you found that as well, just given all of those needs to respond to what's going on in the world?
It has, yeah. And it doesn't have to be very pretty all the time either. So it's almost like get it out fast, but get it out and be real about it. Things might not be as polished, but if people can feel it's authentic and you're really trying to help somebody, then that means a lot more these days. And I think that trend is going to keep continuing because it's really hard once you've seen something that's authentic and once you've also had that responsiveness to suddenly go backwards and say, okay, now I'm going to go back to your calendar instead of mine.
Got it. Yeah. So Mike, what advice would you give marketing leaders who are pivoting their marketing strategies and, trying to take advantage of whatever opportunities they can find amidst the challenges?
Yeah, good question. Well, my advice wouldn't be just for marketing leaders, but also CEOs. First of all, put more emphasis on customer service if you're in e-commerce, because shipping has been an ongoing issue. More alignment between sales and marketing is needed more than ever. And there's going to be a lot of marketing communication changes, and the sales team really needs to know about that because a lot of times they're the ones that's talking directly to the clients or customers. Think about how you collect leads now, because this return to normalcy is, for this pandemic, it's not going to be an overnight process. So it's going to be long and drawn out. So if you're used to gathering leads through email, just remember that now more than ever, online communication is just filling up people's inbox. So start communicating with leads another way, like text or Facebook messages. Here, there's a phone icon, on these phones. You can pick it up and actually talk to like a customer. It's fantastic. People just forget that concept nowadays. It's all about emails and text. So lastly, I would say get your social media posts in order. Social media traffic is up all across all platforms. And now is the time to get a calendar ready to truly start experimenting with what your customers engage with.
Got it. Yeah, I had to explain to my daughter the other day that my phone actually can make calls. It's also used for that. It's good to keep in mind. The personal connection, I think, really goes a long way, I imagine. I would love to hear from all of you on this question, actually. Brenda, the advice that you would give marketing leaders or CEOs, leaders in companies where they're trying to adapt and take advantage of opportunities for growth.
Well, when we talk about growth and we talk about scaling, it's really tough to do it for yourself, basically. So I say get help. When I say get help, I was like, take the work that you have right now and allow your employees to do what they do best and what's core to not only their roles, but also maybe a core competency of your business itself. And then everything else, contract it out. Because you can do amazing things and scale faster when you get the outside help and the expertise, like the people on the panel, Ross and Mike. Right now, you've worked with so many different companies and also with different industries that you can bring all that to the table. And we're so used to just jumping in and getting to work quickly. There's a company in Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada that it's called CompuVision, that has a one-person marketing team. But that person is able to produce as if she is her own individual marketing agency within the company itself. And the reason she can do that is she can't hire the people that she needs locally. So she goes on to Upwork and then she contracts out everybody else that she needs to do everything from, doing worldwide campaigns to launching a new publication, industry magazine. And because of that ability to scale, she's able to do 6 times the output at 70% savings. So that's incredible. And that's what happens when you just focus on the core, let your employees just do what they do best and contract out the rest.
Yeah, and I think it's great points. And I think the theme of focus is really an important one with so much going on and so much change happening. It's really easy to get distracted. So that definitely resonates with me. Ross, what advice would you give to marketing leaders today?
Sure. So obviously, everyone's got their own ads. Everyone's got their own lead generation tools. Up until the coronavirus hit, and then everything changed. Some ads got expensive. Some ads got cheap. Obviously, the Facebook thing happened, and a lot of companies backed out, and a lot of companies stayed in. And the companies that stayed in were getting lower cost per conversion because the bigger companies have backed out. It's all about being creative and also understanding where you can excel. If you're spending 2 hours a day doing an admin task, get it automated or hire someone from Upwork, or, realize that your time is valuable. And, if you're stuck doing an admin task, it's just not worth it for your time anymore. You're a CEO or head of your company. There's better people who can do those kind of resources and deal with it at a much cheaper rate. It's just about outsourcing and realizing that you can be way better than you are currently. Yeah.
Mike, what are your thoughts on this topic of best leveraging independent professionals and kind of figuring out where you can, offset what's done by the core team or tap into particular specializations? How can organizations embrace that and make the most of it?
Yeah, you mean like leveraging independent professionals like from Upwork?
Yeah, like Upwork or anywhere else. How do they fit that into their strategy, particularly now, to kind of take advantage as much as they can?
Yeah, well, I would say start with freelancers who are hyper specialized in what they do. Don't just hire someone who specializes in pay-per-click. Find someone who specializes in Google Ads pay-per-click. Look at the reviews on Upwork, but don't just look at the overall score. Drill down into the independent reviews. What I like to do, I see a lot of 5 stars, which are great, but I like to look at the ones that are 3 or 4 stars and notice to see if there's like a consistent, I don't want to say issue, but something that's not 5 stars shows that there's something is consistently lagging. Like I was looking at a freelancer the other day, consistently had 3 stars by the communication category, by multiple clients. Like that should tell you something. If you want to hire that person, be upfront about the communication expectations early. And then once you find the right person, don't just have them sitting in a silo, especially marketing people, right? So marketing people often need access to many team members, many departments. They're actually the only personnel that need access to just about every department in the company, from sales to operations to customer service. So when you give a marketing person a task, give them access to the entire company and let the whole company know what they're working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you. We are getting pretty close to Q&A time, so let me just hop over and see if we have anything coming in yet. Let's see. All right. One question here. So what are some of the emerging marketing skills where you're seeing demand grow from clients. Mike, let's start with you again. Any particular skills that are bubbling up today?
I can definitely name a few. Data analysis from funnels. Marketing funnels are hot. So basically the way a marketing funnel works in very brief terms is that you've got different methods from a user to jump from stage to stage until they get to where you ultimately want them to go. So the companies need to measure what the conversion rates are along each of those steps. So data analysis is hot. Automation and lead nurturing. I mean, it's 19 times harder to find a new client than to nurture an existing one. So lead nurturing is getting really hot. Like, how do we get the client to take, or the customer to take the next step in what you want them to do? So there's a lot of automation that could be done around that. Another one I would say would be growth hacking. I see a lot of posts on Upwork, and clients don't always know exactly what that means, but it's a cool buzzword and they know they want it. But ultimately, it's a strategy around acquiring as many users or customers as possible, utilizing the smallest time and budget. So growth hackers are out there in full demand right now.
Got it. Thank you. Just saw an audience question. What is pay-per-click? And I think it's pay per click.
Yeah, that's correct.
So totally understand the confusion there. Ross, can you give us just a brief overview of what that means in terms of advertising?
Sure. So pay-per-click is Google ads, Facebook ads, Bing ads. That's the ads that you see when you do a search on Google. You'll either see it at the very top of the below your search term, or on the right-hand side. The same as display ads or shopping ads. And Facebook and Bing have their own sort of ad sections too.
Got it. Yeah, and it really sort of gets to, I think, the digital transformation and some of the trends more broadly in marketing of just getting a lot smarter about metrics and really paying for conversion and ultimate impact versus just audiences, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And a similar question, just in terms of background. So you mentioned that, Mike, that people are looking for growth hackers, but they may not know what that actually means. Can you give us a little more insight into the world of growth hacking and what it entails? Yeah,
so certainly not my specialty, but I love growth hacking. It's a very laser-focused task that only deals with revenue. It only deals with acquiring clients. Everything else should be ignored. Anything along the lines of branding or SEO, it's somebody who wants a straight line, super focused hack on how to get clients by whatever means possible. There's some really weird automations you can put together with, extracting information out of LinkedIn, then putting them in this software program to put them in this funnel. I mean, you can automate certain parts of it, but when you hire a growth hacker, the big thing that they're going to be bringing to the table, a true growth hacker, is creativity. How can we get them from point A to point B in the shortest amount of time possible with the least amount of budget? It is a very highly specialized skill set. And the more experienced the growth hacker is, the much better job they're going to do. It's like 1 + 1 = 3. I've hired beginner growth hackers and I've hired experienced growth hackers, and the difference is night and day.
Great. Thank you for that background. Brenda, here's a question about where you see potential growth in the freelance workforce and demand for it. So given the shift to remote work, are you seeing that bigger companies are moving more toward hiring freelance workers?
I can speak for definitely yes. In general, it seems like it, but specifically on the content side, the copywriting side, yes. It's no matter how good AI is, you cannot write an article or create a good headline as well as a human yet. And then so we still need people, and the amount of people, especially on the platform that I see, who companies who need content writers for email campaigns, to redo web pages, to create new webinars, ebooks, white papers, thought leadership content. The list keeps going on, and they need good people to be able to do that.
Here's a fun one. So Ross, what is the coolest project you've worked on with clients?
Sure. So one of the last big projects that we worked on was for someone who was running for presidency in America. And this was earlier last year, and it was a great experience. We built them a membership website, and it's doing really well. And I just want to point out that it wasn't Trump, but other than that, it was a cool experience because we had full control, and we built a really awesome product out of it.
Wow, that's great. A lot of variety in terms of what you could find and what types of projects you can take on. It's really interesting.
Sure.
Let's see. How can clients best work with independent professionals and remote partners? Mike, do you have any advice or tips, particularly for clients new to this world? Yeah. How can they work effectively with independent professionals?
Yeah, I definitely have some tips there. First of all, have a calendar where they can schedule time, where the freelancers you're working with can schedule time. The worst part about working with a client that doesn't communicate is you just can't get anything done. You need feedback. So having them have access to a calendar gives them access to you. Ask for weekly reports at the same time. So tell them, if I hire you, I'd like to see some kind of report Friday at 4 p.m. that kind of outlines what happened this last week and what you have planned this upcoming week. So that's important too. And also have a goal and expected hours for the freelancer before you start. A lot of times clients don't know what even the goal or the expected hours should be. So let the freelancer set that. Let them determine that. So those are 3 big tips for you.
Yeah, great tips. I think that they cover a lot of ground in terms of setting expectations and building in the structure to create, transparent communications and also kind of creating some of those guardrails. Yeah, great points. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So Brenda, along those lines, what helps make the process more efficient when you're working with a client? What are some tips that, help you make the whole engagement run smoothly?
Be as detailed as possible from the get-go. Start with a really good creative brief, if possible, and fill in all the details. And also, don't be afraid to treat us. I know you run into a compliance issue because we're not employees, but at the same time, don't treat us like these secondhand little external people who are off by the wayside, because we want to do the best that we possibly can do working with you. And we need to know as much information as possible. So if you've chosen the right freelancer, then you know that they're going to be credible. Your IP is safe. Everything is under surveillance. So just go ahead and just bring us in with all the information that we possibly can, do what I call the brain dump, and get us as involved, meeting all the different people within a team as we need to, so that we can do our best work.
Gotcha. Yeah, really making you a central partner is really critical. That makes sense. Let's see. Another question here. How do you price out a job that needs leads but don't know how long it's going to take or how many they will get? What should be the milestones? Any thoughts on that? Ross?
I think I'm sure Mike would agree. It kind of comes down to how long's a piece of string. It varies so much, for a fixed price milestone, realistically, I'm sure Mike would do the same. You would just quote the absolute max because it's impossible to quote that kind of thing without knowing their business, them themselves. When we're looking to bring on a client, you're essentially investing your time into the client. So you want to know that, they've got the finances behind them and they have the goals and they want to achieve something. But doing it as a fixed price is really difficult.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I always want to underpromise and overdeliver. So I will work with a client if I know exactly what needs to be done. I'll increase that 20%, and that's what I will quote at, knowing that I could come in under that given any unforeseen circumstances like difficulty communicating with the client or extra long meetings, barring all that. Pricing it out from a freelancer's perspective, I just know what needs to be done at this point, and then I would increase that 20%.
Got it. Okay. Mike, following up on that, in terms of looking for prospective clients, how do you qualify prospects and, how do you target the types of clients that you want to work with?
Yeah. So in terms of targeting clients, I use a phrase that I coined, actually. It's called the aggregated listening technique. If you want to learn more about it, just go to YouTube and type that in with my last name, Vulcan. Aggregated listening technique allows me to set up alerts on various platforms like Upwork and LinkedIn and others. And then it all just comes into a very special folder in my email, which I monitor hourly. But I have also had success emailing past clients and seeing if they needed help as a result of the pandemic. Many of them do, because there isn't a company in the world who hasn't been affected by the pandemic. I take on projects that I know I can service well, and especially from people that I know I want to work with. On a discovery call, I will get a feel for their personality, the energy that they bring to the table. If a majority of your revenue comes from the internet, you'll be a good candidate for me, because I'm a digital marketer, fractional CMO, especially if you're in growth mode and need to hire a few people. That's a skill set of mine too. So that's my ideal client.
Gotcha. Great. Anything to add on qualifying clients? So once you're sort of in touch with prospects or seeing roles come through on Upwork, for example, what do you look for?
Well, the first thing I look for is I look on the actual profile page of the client. I look for past reviews. I see what other freelancers have said about them. When you're done with a project on Upwork, of course, you leave reviews. It's two ways. It's a two-way street. So freelancers leave reviews for clients and vice versa. So I always look for those. I also look for clients who know what they need. I tend to stay away from clients who leave very general descriptions that seem like they kind of made the project on their mobile phone on the go or something. Those historically haven't been the best clients for me. So I like well thought out descriptions from people who know exactly what they need and what direction they want to go in.
Great. Okay. All good to hear. Well, we've covered a lot of ground from the very high level to more specific. We're already at time, and I just want to thank you all so much for sharing your expertise. This is really, really helpful, I think, to a lot of people trying to navigate all of the changes going on right now. And it's really helpful to hear your perspective. So thank you for your time, and thank you to everyone joining remotely on the webinar, and look forward to doing this again.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.